Yes, we are live now.
Excellent. Welcome all. There was a last minute cancellation today, so I decided to give a very short informal seminar of what some of the developments that's happening at the Kandilli campus, specifically at the DeepTech station, what we call the Kandilli Science and Technology building. So this has some both infrastructure development as well as some supporting structure for the entrepreneurial activity. So, I mean, it is going to be informal, very brief, and then hopefully there will be some questions back and forth sessions for people who are interested. With this one, we are recording this first part briefly, then we will stop the recording and there will be more time for frank Q&A sessions, which is most fun part of the seminars, but we cannot always record those. So without further ado, let me see where is my slide screen. Hopefully you guys will be able to follow this online. So there are some developments that's happening at Kandilli campus, which will be the main focus of this presentation. Let's see. There is also some things happening at Sarıtepe campus, not much focus of this presentation, but these are also maybe in the upcoming years, if you are doing a master's, not relevant for you, but if you're probably going for a PhD, and some of the students who are going for a PhD, I know, who are taking the seminars, might be also beneficial for you. And for entrepreneurial focused students who are either in a startup or a SME, or they want to also consider a, let's say, technocreation grant or some other entrepreneurial activity, either in parallel or very much integral to their academic research, part of their master's or PhD program here at Institute of Biomedical Engineering or any other department which is supporting Center for Life Sciences and Technology. There is also an activity that's happening at the Technopark Istanbul, which is a technology development zone. Some extended infrastructure and support laboratories happening there. So what's happening at Kandilli campus is synchronized or is done in cooperation with what is happening at the specific bio-incubator space at Technopark Istanbul. So there are, the bottom line is there are more extended facilities and support programs for students who are going for startup projects or entrepreneurial activities while they are continuing their academic studies here at Boğaziçi University. So, sorry for the slides. The recent slides have been in Turkish, so I guess you can read it. I can do a simultaneous English translation and show my exquisite English capabilities. Please do not laugh. If you are laughing, make sure you turn off your video. Okay, so anyhow, although many things can be said, what's happening at the world or in our country or even at our university, I mean, things are not always what we are like it to be in terms of being ideal, but when you consider all the recent development in the past upcoming years, as all the planets are aligning in terms of some of our support grants and infrastructure development, so that there will be increasing infrastructure support for life sciences project as well as health entrepreneurial activities within our Istanbul ecosystem. So specifically with the new building is not formally opened. Hopefully it will be open within the summer of this year. The Center for Life Sciences and Technology infrastructure development, as well as 2 separate ISTKA projects, Kandilli Health and BioCube. BioCube is for early startups, and Kandilli Health is for more advanced companies who require essentially advanced commercialization capabilities in terms of infrastructure, as well as market access and market guidance for increased commercialization and export. This is all done, as I said, with the close cooperation between Boğaziçi University and Technopark Istanbul. For people who do not know, Technopark Istanbul is next to the Sabiha Gökçen Airport, and which is essentially used to be known more as a defense industry companies. Now it is also venturing out to several new teams, including health technologies. And this is Istanbul Health Industry Cluster, which is supported by Ministry of Science and Ministry Technology. There is no science and technology and development, I guess, right? And then I'm coordinating Istanbul Health Industry Cluster now, and all the entrepreneur and startup support programs are also done in close coordination with Istanbul Health Industry Cluster. For people who do not know me, usually most of the biomedical engineering students get to know me because they either take the biology or physiology classes from me. These are required for life-sci requirements towards graduation of BME students, but also they are also taken by other students in several departments at our university. I'm actually a medical doctor, specialized in physiology, then switched fields and went to engineering, completed a PhD with a crossover program at biomedical engineering at Drexel University, and then started to work mostly on medical imaging, image-guided therapies, stayed in US for 14 years, first at Drexel and Johns Hopkins Universities, and later at National Institute of Health, National Heart, Lung, Blood Institute. The last one ended around 2007 or 2008. I've been here at the Institute over 20 years now, almost 22 years, with some interruption where I visited the NIH for 5 to 6 years. I've been essentially doing research and setting up several laboratories here. The Comprehensive Center for Life Sciences Technology has been started in 2009, maybe even 2008, but it got a formal structure in 2009. I was the founding director of the center up until 2013, and I'm working as now more like industrial project coordinator for the last 8 to 9 years of that center, and essentially the Innovita platform and now the Istanbul Health Industry Cluster get a new life of its own. And since 2015, I am working as a coordinator there. So let's focus on some of the things. So if you have not visited the Diptech Center, Diptech station or the new name that we are using now, or the Boğaziçi University Science and Technology building, it's a good idea to come and visit it. I've always been surprised to see that the students do not visit that building yet. Even some faculty members, due to the COVID, were not able to come and visit the building yet. So please spare some time and come and visit and look at the facilities here. Several faculty members have already started to utilize their extended laboratory spaces here in this building. So it's a good idea, maybe also get help with some of the students who are working there to give you guys a personal guided tour. So the bottom line is, it is not affiliated to an academic department, institute, or faculty. So it is directly connected to a rectorate. It's an extended research space for research centers and for any researchers who is in need of extra spaces can apply for this space, although most of the spaces are reserved for members who got applied 4 or 5 years ago. It is not clear whether all of them will be eventually furnished and utilized in close time, and there will be definite circulations. New funded projects will come in and old ones will go. So there is no reserved space for anyone, except for some of the centers. And one of the centers who got a dedicated reserve space is Center for Life Sciences and Technology, which is utilizing a full block. Also, research members from the Biomedical Engineering Institute, Chemistry, Department of Physics, also from engineering faculties, starting with mechanical engineering, chemical engineering. Researchers from those departments have extended research laboratories here. They are either in the form of establishment as of right now, or they are seeking additional funding to put additional infrastructure devices within their dedicated labs. So there is a conference room, all fully furnished. I think for 80, 90 people, certainly can be utilized for small gathering seminars. There are meeting rooms. There are some additional classrooms there. We do not utilize that yet, but it can be utilized for training, some classes, or just for studying. They should be open. If not, they can be also reserved and utilized for these purposes. Of course, we know our campus, we have our institute, the earthquake. Also, there's a new building coming from the engineering faculty. There will be new construction laboratories for civil engineers. Have an extended lab spaces in the new building that has been built next to the institute. And of course, the graduate campus is also here. So there is a overall, for the past 7 and 8 years, steady development of Kandilli campus to make it more of a place where advanced research infrastructure has been built here. There are graduate housing and Biomedical Engineering Institute, TAM, TETAM or new TAM, the ICT Center, which is also funded from the Ministry of Development first and later from several sources, is still ongoing here. So it is an interdisciplinary research center, institutes, and advanced laboratories happening at this campus. So although the building has not opened, we started some Diptech gatherings, activities, and seminars to bring people together, to bring additional ideas. For example, we called several venture companies, and because we wanted to show that when you invest in a project or in a startup now, you can stretch your dollars and can go further than what you can go in the old days. And so this is some of the seminars with that. some of the new topics that we are venturing in interdisciplinary research, part of the center or part of the cluster is in vitro diagnostic technologies is one of them, one of the focus areas, and this was a dedicated meeting at that time. If you are not getting notices about these meetings, you can always send me an email, because in some of the topics we distributed more widely to all students, some of it more people who are registered to our mailing list and to our entrepreneurial board project interest groups. Okay, so this is, for example, is finding a crowdfunding company is a new way of getting support for this startup project. So this is of ours also given at this effort. So this is the entrance for people who have not seen. There is always room for getting additional support and philanthropic support to the building through the Boğaziçi University Foundation. If you enter the building, the left side is the cluster, the right side is the block, 2 floors above the entrance, and also 2 floors under the entrance, combined 4 floors belong in a single block to Center for Life Sciences. The incubator space is also unique in a sense that this tech fund incubator space is the largest incubator space anywhere in our campus, although our university is very active in entrepreneurial activity and startup activity when it comes to their graduates, or dedicated incubator spaces and programs have only had limited space for their activities, only space in the main campus for adequate for 30 people. This certainly increased the capacity by a factor of 5 or more, with several larger spaces to settle as an office, as well as there are some additional fab lab and prototyping facilities will be planned within that building to support this startup activity. So this is the standard support for that space that has been planned through the Technology Transfer Office. And nowadays we have already started on several programs in that space with dedicated professional people. Their full-time job is to support startup SMEs in their new projects, startup ideas, and accelerating them. So this is the cluster one. This is the Center for Life Sciences and Technologies. For people who do not know, the center is has a history of 12 years now. Has its infrastructure supported more than 10 academic units, departments, but the molecular biology and genetics and biomedical engineering with almost full members support the Center for Life Sciences and Technologies. It has many infrastructure development for people who are coming to the institute. Frequently, the clean room at the top floor of the institute is a center's infrastructure, which is giving a quite an easy access for biomedical institute students and researchers for in vivo smart devices. That's the focus of that clean room. But there are new additional infrastructure has been ongoing. We will see, I will talk briefly about these within the new building, and there are many more being planned, and at least put in a project form for the future developments. This all is done by strategic planning, by people coming together at the centers and prioritizing, and somebody take the initiative to go write this grant, submit it to a national or international funding agency, and then it's a lot of work, but that's how we can maintain such high level of infrastructure within a government university. So all strategic developments has been done on several occasions through the development of our center. Maybe 3-4 years ago, we are asked, and we gladly obliged to the request that we need a focused activity within the core of our center, and that has been established as targeted therapy technologies, which include both biotechnological project in terms of, let's say, smart nanomedicine, targeted therapy, anti-cancer applications, maybe cellular therapies, vaccines. All those can be wrapped up within the biotechnological component of targeted therapy technologies. When it comes to devices, anything that can be implanted within the body or can deliver a certain therapy inside the body in terms of devices, included cancer therapy, treating devices, including neurotechnological, neuroimplant, neuroengineering devices, all of them could be combined within the targeted therapy technologies. So there is a large Center for Life Sciences presentation, which could be, which I can go into, but I'm not gonna do it. Maybe if there are questions, we can show some specific slides here. So one of the unique things that separates us from the additional life sciences infrastructure is that we have very strong connection to the sector, biomedical sector, medical devices sector, as well as pharmaceutical sectors. So when it comes to the ISEK cluster or Istanbul Health Industry Cluster, provides this interface of the center with a collection of companies here. So this might not be immediately obvious to you. So I will give a little bit more break, hopefully. No? Oh, interesting. I cannot click over there here. Let me see. Let me stop this one and then go here. The click that didn't work for the linked presentation. So I'm gonna go to this presentation. 1 second. Let me see, go back. Sorry for the delay in the share. Let's see. Right. Okay, I hope everybody can see this now. So this is the cluster presentation. So let's see whether we can move this one along. Yes. So this is cluster has been going on. I'm coordinating that cluster and getting the support from the Ministry of Industry and Technology. Now I said the name correctly, I presume. It has a nice support from all the regional governmental agency. As we know from the recent pandemic, we have to invest and fill out to some of the big gaps that we observed during the pandemic here in terms of several biotechnological national production as well as medical device production. Currently, Turkey is an aging it's not as old as some of the European countries or developed countries, but it's a significantly aging population. Currently, it spends less than 5% of its GDP on healthcare, but it relies heavily on export, and some of the healthcare problems like obesity and certain types of cancer is very prevalent in Turkey. So we have to solve this problem, and our care costs are increasing dramatically. We have currently doing a little bit very cost-effective socialized healthcare delivery system nationally, but whether it is sustainable or not without a national industry to support it is debatable. At least I am in favor of development of our export capacity and our national know-how on medical devices and pharmaceutical technologies, several of them. In terms of medical devices sector, which is the focus of biomedical engineering, we are at around 2.4, some say a little bit higher, up to bring this number closer to 3 billion, 2.4 to $3 billion medical device technology market in Turkey. It is relatively large, but 1% of the global market. It grows steadily everywhere in Turkey as also in globally. So we have, if you look at the numbers, our export numbers have improved dramatically because we were able to fill our sales with some of the requests coming from the COVID pandemics. Like, for example, as you know, single-use items, masks, some of the medical devices that are utilized, or at least their consumables, like ventilator kits, plastics, we are able to increase their export capabilities, but still the ratio is there. So especially when it comes to high value added products in terms of medical devices or high-end pharmaceutical biotechnological drugs, we still rely heavily on import. So when it comes to medical sector, everything is a non-pharmaceutical things that are utilized in the hospital for sick people. All this, everything is even a Band-Aid is a medical device. MR is a medical device. All hospital equipments are medical device. Single-use items, plastics, whatever touches the body, patient is a medical device. Some dental medical devices usually ignored. You might not get any lectures, unfortunately, in our education, biomedical engineering. There is also some of the topics here is not much covered in our standard biomedical engineering education, like in vitro diagnostic technologies, which is for mobile health, right? Technologies, which is upcoming and increasing in the world as well as in our country. So there are many groups. From bottom line, I mean, there are certainly, we need people who are strong in their academic foundation and do scientific research in biomedical engineering, having a firm footing in basic sciences as well as engineering, who knows what's happening inside the body, biology, physiology, and specific pathophysiology cases, and then do fundamental research in neurosciences or several fields within the biomedical engineering, biomaterials, bioinstrumentations, but we also need people who complete their academic training in master's or PhD preferably, and they want to enter the industry or start up their own company. So for people, there is this path that needs to be taken. It is for bringing any idea that you have for a medical device to the clinic, to utilize it, to show its effect actually for a sick patient. So this is a long and arduous path, takes optimistically 2 to 4 years, sometimes longer, and 8 to 12 million Turkish lira, that's last year's number, specifically at least couple of $1 million required to bring an idea to the market on average or in median, let's say, if you are starting from an idea. So usually the first levels of development is adequate for academic thesis work, usually can be done in a much more modest, like TÜBİTAK-like grants. But when you finish that type of laboratory prototyping, academic research part, a significant amount of work remains to bring that idea, which is shown and proven academically under lab settings, to the market. And then you intersect with several ministries and regulations when you go towards that direction, because healthcare is heavily guarded and protected environment. So when you decide to go that way, you need a lot of support, and that support system and programs are being established more formally now at the Kandilli DeepTech station, and you starting from the idea development for prototyping, the performance tests that you need to do. You have to formally apply for certification. We are all within the European regulations now, and which are getting much tougher under the MDR. And then you have to, producing is one part, then you have to make sure you can sell it, support it, or export it, and then maintain it, which is a significant task. It is certainly a team village effort. One person can only go a certain distance. A well-organized and complementing team can go further, but you also need professional management, guidance, mentorship, as well as support and money, investment to go for the full duration. So that's where the cluster comes, supporting. That's also another 12-year activity, which is supported by the ISTKA, Istanbul Development Agency. We have several initial funds to start up this journey. Afterwards, the cluster took over and continued supporting this thing up until recently. We now have much tighter connection to other clusters and producer organization nationally as well as internationally. Now we have a Kandilli Health and BioCube programs over there. So maybe a quick support for Kandilli Health program could be also shown at the end. So this is overall, and there is a dedicated team of people who knows this support system. Most of them are operating now at the Kandilli DeepTech station within the Kluchka building, TechFan incubator wing of the building. There are also people who are within this name occasionally coming and supporting these activities. For example, European grant team is working now to support this industrial project as well as academic projects coming from the center. And there are also people who are affiliated with the Technopark Istanbul team who are all here to support the startup, SME support, accelerate these type of entrepreneurial activities so that we can produce more and more technologies in medical sectors nationally. And all those people were not here, or most of them were not here 2 years ago, and we didn't have this infrastructure yet. So this is overall our activity. So let's see whether we can. Okay, it cannot open it. Let's finish this one as well. And then I will show one more thing, whether see we can get this thing going. Okay, let's see. Advanced sharing options. Okay, 1 second. I will show very briefly, then finish this talk for questions. 1 second. Let's see whether I can show you. No, got started. Okay, let's try again. Let's look at it now. This is the overall the Kandilli Health program infrastructure. So you will see some of the new laboratories here as well. So this is supported by the Istanbul Development Agency. All these, if you need more information, come and visit our building here, and they will guide you towards more according to your needs. So certainly it can be combined with your academic thesis work. So some of the infrastructure that I mentioned here is shown. Look at this MR imaging facility, PET-CT imaging facilities is shown on the left side. Clean room is showing on the top left. With the combination of the clean room, and you can put it inside the animal structures, rat and mice. You can do functional imaging there. All these infrastructures are unique and nowhere else to be found in terms of its completeness and support anywhere in the Turkey as of right now. And now, so you can do several more exciting thesis work or more courageous and far-reaching entrepreneurial activity. So these are all some of the activities that is given here. So overall, I think 40 minutes is enough for any kind of talk. So let's see some videos, and for people who are watching us, let's stop the recording and go to question and answer sessions, which will be more, hopefully, frankly,